Hello and welcome to Lost Within Lost, the podcast where we are re-rewatching the 10 highest rated episodes of Lost. My name is Dan and my controversial Lost opinion is that The Constant, while an entertaining piece of television, is not even in the top 10 of Lost episodes. Put that in your pipe and smoke monster it.
Hello, my name is Chris, and Dan, I'm going to need to see that list. Yes, that's right. Inspired by Lost, premiering in Australia exactly 20 years ago this February, we are setting off on a journey to rewatch the 10 highest rated episodes of Lost. We've consulted with IMDb, read a whole bunch of articles and retrospectives and listicles and BuzzFeed articles, and we've got ourselves a top 10 list. So each week, we will be rewatching, recapping, and reviewing one episode from the list as we count down to the highest rated episode of Lost.
And of course, that highest rated episode, as we all know, is The Constant, the most beloved Lost episode of all time. Everyone has it at number one. But because I don't have it number one, we'll also be doing our own personal top 10 list.
That's right. And before we get to the official top 10 and the whole reason for doing this podcast, there's a few things you should know, a little bit of housekeeping. Firstly, this podcast assumes that you've seen the TV show Lost. So
yes,
please be aware it is going to be full of spoilers. You definitely need to watch Lost, and it probably also helps that you liked the TV show as well. So if you haven't done that, what the heck are you doing? How have you even found us?
Yeah, download something else.
No. Watch 6 seasons of Lost.
No.
And then come back and join us so that you can join in the conversation.
Yes, correct. I guess the other thing that we should point out is that we don't really know one another.
That's right, Dan. You're a total stranger.
Yeah, we know one another via social media, but that's about it. Just a casual interaction on Twitter, which sparked this entire podcast.
That's right. In the introduction, you heard a literal tweet fired off by Dan, who I follow on Twitter because we're both fans of another show set in the jungle.
Yes.
That one far more reality based. We both love a bit of Survivor, and that's how we know each other. And not much more else is known between us. However, when I saw that tweet, I was like, well, yeah, I need to see this top 10.
And naturally, the only way to do that is via the medium of podcast.
Exactly. This brings us on to our third and final bit of housekeeping. There are plenty of amazing podcasts Lost in excruciating detail, episode by episode. That's certainly not us. We've got a top 10 to bash through, but we're all about the memories. We're gonna take a trip down memory lane. What was it like watching TV and consuming really nerdy stuff in the sort of mid to late 2000s? What else was on at that time? And also, particularly in Australia, we are in Australia, and we're going to apply a specific Aussie lens to this whole trip back in time. Look, maybe even one of us was writing a blog at the time.
Maybe.
And maybe I'm going to force one of us to read out all of their 20-year-old material and try and get someone cancelled. We'll see. So should be a lot of fun having a bit of a dig back through the archives, or what else was going on in Australia at the time, what else were we watching, and just how did we get so lost within Lost?
Exactly. All right. Should I go through the top 10 list for posterity here?
Please, Dan, if you would do us the honors.
So I guess the first thing we should mention is that if it's a multi-part episode, as a lot of the finales and premieres tended to be, we've merged them all together. We're not going to watch part 2 of a finale and talk about that. No, we're watching the whole thing.
No, we're cheating, but we don't care.
Yeah. Number 10 on the list is the pilot, part 1 and part 2. Number 9 is Man of Science, Man of Faith. That's the season 2 opener. Number 8 is The Incident. That's also part 1 and part 2. That's the season 5 finale. Number 7 is The Man Behind the Curtain. That's season 3, episode 20. Then we move on to number 6, which is There's No Place Like Home, parts 1, 2, and 3. A 3-part finale of season 4. Number 5 on the list, Aberturno. That's season 6, episode 9. Number 4, the 4th best episode of Lost officially is Exodus. Again, parts 1, 2, and 3. That's the season 1 finale. We will be watching all 3 parts of that.
Definitely cheating with that one.
Definitely. Number 3 on the list is Live Together, Die Alone. That's part 1 and part 2. That's the season 2 finale. And you're never going to guess what number 2 is. That's Through the Looking Glass, part 1 and 2. And that is the season 3 finale. But the final thing we'll be watching is The Constant, which is season 4, episode 5, the number 1 episode of Lost. Everyone loves it. Everyone agrees. It's the best episode. No one could possibly disagree with that.
Why even bother doing this podcast? Well, because we feel pretty passionately. Like I agree that The Constant is pretty rad, and I reckon it's going to crack my top 10. But there's quite a few finales in there, and I don't think all of them deserve to be in there. So I will certainly be bringing a few hidden gems into my top 10. And Dan, I'm so curious as to what is going to land in your top 10. If the Constant isn't even in there at all, what could possibly be there?
Well, that's why people have to listen to the podcast, right?
And of course, if you want to jump on IMDb, you will see the list, or check out our social pages. That's where you'll find the list probably pinned to the top of those pages. So if you would like to join us on our epic journey, we would love for you to be a part of it. Each week, we will be dropping a new episode, and we would love to hear from you every single week. We want to make your favorite memories and theories, and of course, we want your own top 10 list all to be a part of the show. So you can email us at lostwithinlostpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, and alternatively, if you are not into email, if you've left that behind, you can find us on social media. We're on Twitter. Our handle there is Lost Within Lost, and we've got the same handle over on Blue Sky, which is also Lost Within Lost. So you could track us down on either of those places and communicate with us there, and we'd love to hear your feedback on all the episodes that we're going through.
Thank you for listening to Lost Within Lost. If you have any feedback on anything you've heard in this episode, or even if you just want to share some of your own favourite Lost memories, you can send us a note via email or pneumatic tube, if that happens to be working. Just send it to lostwithinlostpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on the socials, both Twitter or X, whatever you prefer. Also on Blue Sky, at Lost Within Lost. Come and say hello, and thanks for listening.